Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you for staying until now and on. Thank you for the organizers to giving me the opportunity to speak to you today. I hope they will not regret it. Maria is not here, but I hope they will not regret it by the end of the talk. Because I was awarded 5 extra minutes, I'm going to start with 3 shameless advertisements. Please get your phones at the ready because there's going to be 3 QR codes for you to scan. Number 1. A paper has been out as of yesterday. Woo, amazing. Look at the author list. There are so many superstars in there. Also me, but I'm bang in the middle, the joys of having a surname that starts with an M and author list in alphabetical order. But this was the output of a workshop in February in Baxter, organized by the Company of Biology, where we all came together as bioimage analysts to try and put our heads together and give the community some information on what we think we need and what we think we can offer. So for all of you who are looking at establishing an image analysis service within your communities, or for all of you who want to know how other image analysts do things elsewhere, this is a very good publication. The figures are amazing, just because I made them, and it's in CC BY, meaning that you can reuse those figures, and we can CC BY license, sorry, for those of you who are not familiar. And you can reuse this figure, and we can use contents of the paper for your own needs as needed. Well, you got the point. Second shameless advertisement. A couple of years ago, we've published a paper on the community needs for bioimage analysis training. And this year, we are now running a 3rd instance of the survey. The first instance was organized by Koba and Bina. The second instance saw the participation together with Koba and Bina of RMS, the Rare Microscopical Society, and now also GloBio is involved, so we are growing. Please share the survey with your communities. It's very, very important for image analysts to know what the acquisition people and imaging scientists and experts want from us in terms of training and in terms of community in general. So please share the QR code widely, the link widely, sorry. There's also more information on image.sc should you want to check. Shameless advertisement number 3, CBIAS, Craig Bioimage Analysis Symposium is coming to town again in London in November. I know not many of you will be able to travel to London in November. However, there's a remote attendance option, which you definitely should compare. It's just £20 for 2 days. Definitely a deal. We have a very good lineup of speakers. Asta is between them. Amazing organizer. Me and Todd are involved as well. This year, focus is going to be on community, yay, on applications for biomedical images, and of course on AI, because we can never leave without focusing on AI. Okay, now I can start with my talk. Apologies in advance, because due to travel arrangement, I not be able to stay for the panel. Why would that be an issue? You're going to realize shortly, but this is how Georgina thought I'm approaching the problem. So I'm dropping some bombs and running away. But please, please, for those of you who are remaining for the panel, do flag my flag. Okay, why am I doing all of these disclaimers? So I found this meeting very helpful and very useful to discuss all of these amazing solutions when it comes to metadata, when it comes to data management, data storage, and so on and so forth. However, I think we should never stop looking at the reality of things when it comes to interacting with our users within core facilities. And we should really, really remember how it is the reality of things. Like we are talking about metadata, but what do they want? We are talking about data storage, data management, but what would they want from us? Because ultimately, they are the ones that will need to use this data that we're reusing. They're going to be the ones needing to look for this data. So the expectations when it comes to data management look something like this. The reality looks something like this. So in the next few slides, what I'm going to do is going through some funny example that either me personally or people around me has come through when working in facilities. I anonymized everything. So if any of my users see this on YouTube at some point, you should be the only people able to recognize yourself. And if you do, come to me, I owe you a coffee. But everybody else, just pretend these are people that I imagine myself, but they are not. Okay, first problem, improbable file naming. I'm sure we've seen this a lot. This I took from PhD comics, but the whole point being sometimes when we have to deal with automating analysis for our users, this is a very, very challenging task. I'm going to give you a funny example from my own experience. This was a path that was given to me in terms of where to find the data. First problem, there's a lot of spaces in there. All of the software people in the room will know how painful this is when we're trying to automate things. There are ways around, but please stop putting spaces in your file name. There's some weird characters in there. There's even a parenthesis, and I know that we like to speak well and be well-spoken, but yeah, no parentheses, please. There's 2 extensions. Like, how many times do you want to break my code? Come on. And also, there's an extra problem that they did the analysis with Imaris, which is not open source. But this is not related to funding. Creative folder structure. This is another very good one. So this imaginary user came to me and said, you can find the data that you need to analyze in my folder, the folder with my name. Great, easy. Pre-living, post-living. Okay, first choice, where do I go? This is like your choose your own adventure kind of situation. I guess pre-living, perhaps. There were a lot more folders than these. I just for the sake of the example, I cut it down to 5. There were about 50. But these were the ones that I found more interesting. The hard drive 1, the hard drive number 2, with a space, and others. Let's go in hard drive number 1 just to start with. And in hard drive number 1, there's hard drive number 2. And I checked, the content is not the same between hard drive number 2 and hard drive 2. Mixed folders I don't want to go into because you don't want to know what was in there. But what was in hard drive number 2 was even more varied. So we have a folder, a copy of their passport. I promise it was really their passport. A presentation of a lab meeting with a date, at least the file name was good. Some installer for some program, both in Windows and Mac, okay, and a zip.txt. I wasn't brave enough to open. Also, just because I'm sure you were all curious what was inside the folder others, there was another folder called others. And this I promise I copied and pasted. This I didn't change, aside from the name. Okay, if a folder structure and file structures are not safe, nor are images. This time I couldn't show you the images because otherwise they will be very recognizable. So you'll have to just deal with me talking to you about it. But the most common one is compressed file format. So people coming to you with a JPEG and trying to ask you information about what was in there in the first place, which is slightly challenging. Some RGB for light microscopy challenges. The funniest example I had was somebody having 4 channels that was red, green, blue, and far red. And they saved it as an RGB. So what happened to the far red that was rendered as magenta, half of it went to the blue and half of it went to the red, meaning that all the information they were interested in those 3 channels basically went out of the window. Downsample image, the funniest one I had was an image that was 200 by 200 pixels, representing a whole human sample in some like section data, H&E staining. The original image was 2,000 by 2,000, so you can, no, 20,000 by 20,000. Anyway, we lost a lot of pixels along the way. The 4 point, I just put the ellipsis there because I really don't want to go into it, is all of the issues that come with people not really acquiring their imaging correctly. And these come from lack of experience or not paying a lot of attention, but we've seen 32-bit images with just 0 to 10 intensities being taken, and all the rest of the range left to its own devices. We've seen a lot of weird things, but I'm not going to go into it. But if you have some funny examples, you can come to me and tell me your funny stories or horror stories. If images aren't safe, nor are data. Sometimes we get users coming to us with some question, can you help me with? And I'm going to show you 2 funny examples. The first one was somebody coming to me asking if I wanted to help them with some diet data. A bit more general, but yeah, sure, just tell me what you want. Give me an example. Okay, yeah, I'm going to send you the file, and then you can send me the analysis. Okay, this was the file. We have some subjects, okay. And then like a list of what they had, but there was no hypothesis, no before and after, no. It was basically like a shopping list, a grocery list. I never figure out, they never get back to me, so I never figure out what they really wanted. This was another funny one. Can you please help me with data? Yeah, sure, show me an example. I have one time point. Sorry, I have 5 time points, one sample, n equal 1. Can we run statistics? Statistics on what? Yeah, so anyway, what can we do about it? My first reaction is always cry. If you're not a cat person but a dog person, I also have a crying dog for you. However, I understand that this is probably not the most viable solution. So the first thing is training, I believe. Because a lot of the time when people come to me and I complain about how they name their file, they're like, yes, but why? And they have a fair point, right? I mean, if we don't tell them why we don't want spaces, we don't want weird characters, or we don't want them to analyze data with Imaris, they need to know, they need to understand what is the reason why this is a problem for us, image analysts, or for us, community that comes on the other side of the acquisition. These are just 3 examples of courses I've been personally involved with GBI, internally in the CRIC, and with the RMS, but there's plenty more. I'm mentioning these because I was personally involved and because the material is openly available to anybody that would like to go and have a look. So first of all, training. Let them know why we need these. Let them know what are our needs, because ultimately we want them to be happy and we want them to interact with us in a productive way. Second, let's try to avoid our expert bias. This is somewhat related, but we deal with these things day in, day out. And sometimes we don't realize that they might not be familiar with the concept. We need to explain things. We need to make sure that they understand where we're coming from. And related to these, and this has been mentioned already a few times in previous talk, let's try to avoid top-down solution. The whole point is that these people, our users of our own facilities, really are the people that we want happy, because they are the ones that will then reuse data, will then have to write the metadata, will have to fill in all of our things that we need in order to make the ecosystem work. But if they're not happy with the solution that we came up with, they will not do it. So we cannot ask them to stay for like 20 minutes to fill in a metadata file if they don't understand what's the importance of it, what's the reality of it, and why would they need it in the future. So I think overall the message, which I think was the message of this meeting, was let's keep the conversation going, not just among us, but among our students as well, among our users, among all of the different communities that are coming together, because I think this is the only way, and I know it sounds maybe a bit utopic and whatnot, but this is the only way we can find solutions that are sustainable in the long run. So with these, I want to acknowledge Georgina and Maddy, not because they are users, I want to specify these, but because we had a lot of conversations around these and they agree blindly to let me talk about these. Nobody has seen the slides before, just because I finished them yesterday night. And Silvia, who's a colleague over in Florence, who's always a very good source of funny examples. The diet data was hers. And finally, all of my users, and I hope they don't recognize themselves or they never see this presentation. I'm about 6 minutes early, but I'm sure nobody will complain, so thank you.